I'm Zhao Li, 15 years old. I'm from Xiaguchen Village, Liuxiang Township, Libin City, Guangxi Province. We belong to the Aoyao branch of the Yao people. We harvest star anise for a few months each year.
Zhao Li, after finishing junior high school, didn't choose to leave home. She prefers the fragrance of the star anise that scents Xiaguchen village to the outside world. More importantly, she doesn't want to live the same way as everyone else. 4 generations have been living under the same roof. She has been drying star anise with her mother, grandmother and great-grandmother since she was young. All women in the Zhao family are hard-working, like every Aoyao woman. Miss Yao recently has fallen in love with the clay drum dance that has been performed in her village for centuries. Pan Jinsong, her grandfather, is the 15th generation inheritor of the family's clay drum dance ritual. For hundreds of years, the Yao people have practiced this tradition, performing their clay drum dance to worship their ancestor, King Pan. During the King Pan festival, Mr. Pan plays his clay drum with a team of drummers. The dance is performed throughout the entire ceremony. Clay drums are divided into male and female drums. Female drums have thicker bodies and a deeper timbre. Male drums have longer bodies and a clearer timbre. While the dancers perform, a female drum controls the direction and rhythm of several male drums. Miss Zhao asked her grandfather to learn to play the drums many times, but he refused.
We originally performed the clay drum dance only when we honored King Pan. No women were allowed to attend the ceremony, so no woman has ever performed the clay drum dance.
Women are not allowed to play the drums.
The clay drum dance was originally performed to worship the ancestors and only passed down to males. However, Zhao Li repeatedly implored him. Her grandfather finally agreed to teach her how to play the drum. Zhao Li lives in Xiaguchen village in Jinshu Yao Autonomous County, located in the eastern Hunan-Guangxi corridor. The warm subtropical monsoon collides with the 1,900-metre-high Wuji Mountain, producing plenty of rain throughout the year. Generations of Aoyao women work in the vast tea plantations in the mountains. Miss Zhao often wonders whether her life will be the same as the older women in her family, harvesting star anise and picking tea leaves on the mountains.
Pan Li, time to play the drum!
Legend has it that King Pan was knocked to his death from a cliff by a mountain goat while out hunting. Yao people make long drums by hollowing out empress tree trunks and covering both ends with goat skin. They worship King Pan by playing these drums and dancing. The ancestors of the Aoyao people practice the unique tradition of tuning a drum by smearing mud on the drum heads. The performer smears mud on the head and turns the bamboo chips in the middle of the drum strings, controlling the timbre and intonation by virtue of his ear and experience. The key to learning drum dance lies in the steps. The dancer must turn and walk forward to the rhythm of the drum beat. Miss Zhao has only just begun to learn playing the drums and knows she can't join the worshipping ceremony of King Pan. But she can teach children to apply clay to the drums and play them, and become an inheritor like her grandfather. In the past, Chinese people paid tribute to Shiji, the gods of earth and grain, with 5-coloured earth. Sacrifices to Shi were carried out on a hilltop, while the spring sowing and autumn harvests were dedicated to Ji. For thousands of years, people have introduced new generations to this land, accumulating wisdom and creating civilization.
Folks, you have been summoned here today for a brief meeting about the future of the cave dwelling in which our ancestors lived for generations.
Today, Song Xianmin gathers the villagers to discuss the restoration of the last ancient underground cave dwelling. There were over 80 underground caves in the village, but they were filled in and leveled up. Only this one abandoned cave remains. Mr. Sung wants to restore it to its former glory.
As you can see, the passageway to the cave has been badly damaged after years of neglect.
This passageway is the entrance connecting the ground above with the dwelling below. As the original one has been so badly damaged, he decides to build a new one.
When it has been restored this time, the cave dwelling will look almost identical to the original one our ancestors lived in. It will enable later generations to understand how our ancestors used to live. Move this way slightly. A little more to the east. Right, that's the spot. Let's begin!
10,000 years ago, their ancestors dug caves into the cliff face to live in, an early type of cave dwelling. On the Weibei Plateau, the earth is made up of deep layers. Digging down into these layers produced very stable dwellings, called a yaodong. Yaodongs were built 8 to 10 meters underground. The main cave, kitchen and rooms for livestock were tunneled off from a central courtyard. Only the passageways were visible when entering the village. Underground dwellings have existed on the highlands of the Weibei Plateau and Guangzhong Plains since the Zhou dynasty. After the passageway is dug, a front door must be built at the entrance. The foundations must be tamped down first, and Mr. Song has ordered a new tamping stone, inviting the tamping expert from the neighbouring village. Villagers able to tamp the soil have come to help.
Exert your strength. Be careful. Why is there a tree inside? Be careful. Be really careful. Slowly.
When they get to the bottom of the seepage well used to collect rain in the middle of the cave dwelling, they found it covered with earth. Only removing the debris will ensure proper drainage of the cave. The 4 walls of the cave have been eroded by rain and become uneven, so the villagers have to straighten them out with 3-toothed rakes. The villagers call this washing the walls. On the day of washing the walls, several villagers arrive early to help. Setting up a scaffold, they start washing layer by layer. It takes 4 to 5 days to finish washing the walls. Next, they must manufacture the adobe used to build the passageway, the stove, and the heated brick bed. Adobe is shaped into stands supporting the 4 corners of the heated brick bed. A layer of mud mixed with wheat chaff is smoothed onto the finished heated brick bed, making it flat and firm. "50 days later, they have finished the repair work on the dwelling, just in time for the winter solstice. The cave preserves the living space and building skills of the Weibei Plateau that have been passed down for thousands of years, demonstrating the ancestral wisdom of utilizing local conditions to create living spaces out of the loess. This is precisely why Mr. Sung wanted to restore this underground courtyard dwelling. Without earth, a man cannot stand. Without grain, a man cannot live. Earth provides a living space and food for people. The Chinese people have worshipped and praised the earth by creating various forms of music and dance. The Thao, a group of Taiwanese indigenous people, have lived by fishing, hunting, farming, and collecting food in the forests for generations, thereby creating a unique culture. Maoju Mei, the chief of the Thao tribe, is responsible for dealing with the tribal affairs, teaching and preserving the culture of her people. She has gathered several elders together today to practice making music by pounding pestles to celebrate the Thao New Year.
Pray for peace. Pray for peace.
On New Year's Eve, according to Thao tradition, women make music by pounding pestles to summon the men folk home from hunting in the forests, so that together they can show their appreciation for the harvest the earth and forests have given them during the year. The pestles are numbered based on the different sounds they make when striking the stone. After pestle number 1 establishes the rhythm, number 2 and 3 join in at the right time and in the right position on the stone.
Pounding pestles to make music is just like talking to each other.
The women occasionally sing while pounding the pestles to tell their ancestors about their successful hunts and good harvest. With less than 300 people, the Thao people are the 10th indigenous group to be recognized by the Taiwanese government. Modern multicultural fusion is making it increasingly difficult for them to maintain their native culture. As their chief, Miss Mao hopes that the culture of the Thao people can be preserved because it is like passing down the spirit of the earth. Dong Desheng is the legendary ginseng collector of the Qinghai Mountains. In 1981, on his first trip to collect ginseng, he found an enormous wild ginseng with 3 main roots and 12 leaves, now displayed in the Jilin Hall of the Great Hall of the People as a national treasure. Over the next 30 years, he never found another.
I have confidence that another large ginseng must be waiting for me somewhere. I will find another national treasure.
Seeking out another wild ginseng of national treasure quality, Dong and 4 other men hike into the primeval forest of the Qinghai Mountains. The further they walk into this dense forest, the taller and straighter the trees become. Cui Chang'an, the team leader, reminds them all to watch out for hanged men or broken branches.
A Beigong village elder was hit by a broken branch. He was paralyzed and bedridden for 10 years, so watch your step. Hey! Oh, that's a hanged man right there.
The taller the tree, the more easily it conducts electricity, increasing its chance of being struck by lightning during a storm. The broken branches lay across the crowns of the trees, hanging and swaying, and could easily fall and hurt someone passing below.
Look, that's another hanged man up there. We have to get it down. It's too dangerous. Take it down. Be careful. Come on, let's go this way now.
Danger hides everywhere in the forest. The primeval forest near the highest peak of the Qinghai Mountains is a coniferous and broadleaf forest with an altitude of 500 to 1,000 meters. With the humidity and temperature of the forest, the rotting leaves turn the black soil into black humus containing abundant nutrients, forming the special soil quality needed for wild ginseng. Mr. Quay leads the ginseng collecting team. He's responsible for guiding, orienteering, and observing the mountains.
Over 140 years ago, my ancestors braved the journey to the northeast and came to the primeval forest of the Qinghai Mountains. At that time, whoever collected big ginseng roots could make a fortune.
The wild ginseng that grows in the Qinghai Mountains is priced ranging from tens of thousands to millions of Chinese yuan. Searching for wild ginseng requires such close attention that the ginseng collectors are not allowed to speak when in the mountains. They use handheld sticks to contact each other. Night is falling, and they arrive at a pine forest with pine nuts all over the ground, making it a haunt for wild boar. Protecting their newborn piglets, the wild boars become aggressive. To avoid being attacked, The collectors are forced to turn back.
What should we do? Let's take a detour.
Treading lightly and clearing the way with their sticks, they gingerly pass through the boar's territory.
When you fry the millet, add some salt and oil.
Millet is gentle and warms the stomach, making it a filling meal that satisfies the collector's hunger. Once they've eaten their millet, they'll head home. The team have searched in vain for 3 days. The mountains they crossed have dense growing ancient trees in all directions. Anyone entering this place will feel constricted, completely surrounded.
Sui! It's raining heavily! Which direction should we take? Let me have a look at the compass. I can't trust what it says anymore! Follow me straight ahead.
Zhou Jialin suspects that Mr. Tui has lost his bearings, but Tui trusts his sense of direction. Night falls. Mr. Zhou finds a worn hat left hanging on a tree by a former collector. He noticed it 2 hours ago, which means they have gone around in a circle.
Sui! You said you knew the way, but we are back at this hat again. Look at this hat! It's raining heavily today. Usually I know the way by looking at the tops of the trees or the moss. You said the direction was right! The heavy rain confused me!
The team have lost their way, which the local people call Ma Da Shan. Seeing no sign of Mr. Tui or the other men, the stoker keeps striking his stick, getting no answer. Starting to worry, he takes a flashlight and goes to look for them. The ginseng collectors can find their way by watching the flow of the running water.
This makes everything clear.
After arriving at the stream, Mr. Tui quickly adjusts his coordinates. Early the next morning, they enter a marsh after wading across the stream.
Sui! Dong! I've fallen into a bog! We'll be right there! Cross the sticks first. Quickly. Drag him out. Come on. 1, 2. Come on. 1, 2. There we go. You were gone for hours. I came to look for you, but it was too dark, so I fell into the bog.
Because the 4 men didn't return that night, the stoker went to find them. He entered the marsh by accident because he wasn't familiar with the terrain. He didn't dare to move all night, but waited until dawn, then inched towards the edge of the bog with difficulty. The black humus on the Qinghai mountains gives birth to a miraculous and expensive wild ginseng, and cultivates the strong forest survival skills of the ginseng collectors. This soil gives them a way to subsist on and makes each of them a genuine man of Qinghai mountains. On the 7th day, they're running out of millet, and they reach an agreement that they would continue searching for just 1 more day. If they fail to find anything, they will go back down. They have arrived in a shady place. The shady side of the mountain has stone crevices and caves, dense plants and water sources, creating the perfect shelter for snakes. Tui, Dong and the other men venture into snake territory, starting a war between the invaders and the residents. A Qinghai mountain legend says the big snakes protect the ginseng. This special relationship between snakes and ginseng means the collectors wouldn't dare harm the snakes. They make their way through the snake's territory, depending solely on courage, experience, and a stick. The bigger snakes can be lifted away, but the small adders with venomous fangs can only be cleared by flicking them away with a stick, one by one.
Light the fire, right?
After passing through the snake territory, the leader gives the order for a break. Dong suggests searching in the direction the big snake's head was pointing in.
I think we should observe the snakes, especially the big ones. We'll follow the direction their heads point. If the head points westward, we will go west.
The theory that where there are snakes, there will be ginseng originates from the legend of the ginseng bird. Tway notices there are Korean pines, red maples, oaks, lindens and ash trees growing here. It is exactly the type of mixed forest containing the 5 species where ginseng usually grows. He decides to lead them west.
Wooden club! What kind of wooden club? 5 leaves! Hurry! Wow, it's enormous. Has red seeds too.
Dong has found a 5-leaf ginseng. The collectors call back and forth traditional phrases on finding a ginseng in gratitude.
Let's search around. Search over there. Get ready to receive the mountain. Right. I've forgotten my cap. Joe, take it out for me. That's a good omen. Good. All right, lift it out then. We've lifted it out. We've got it now. All right.
Lifting the ginseng is the most difficult step in ginseng collecting. It sometimes takes as long as 3 or 4 hours. Fibrous ginseng roots crisscross deep under the soil. None of the ginseng roots can be broken, otherwise the nutrients will be quickly lost.
Dong? Yes? Bring some moss here to wrap the ginseng in. Such humus can only be found in the primeval forests of the Qinghai Mountains. Only such humus can cultivate such big ginseng. Let's go home and have dumplings. I found a huge ginseng the very first time I went to the mountains. I've often collected it in the mountains and planted it at home. Maybe this is my fate I share with ginseng.
The earth provides people with a life source. Various types of soil in China combine with different spiritual properties to provide artists with a vehicle for their rich artistic creations. Liu Mingwu is the creator of ceramic paintings with gemstone glaze. He learnt his skills from a famous temple architect when he was a teenager and became an expert in the 6 main categories of temple construction art. At age 17, he became the youngest master of temple construction in Taiwan.
When I was younger, I could make 36 clay figures a day. No one has ever broken that record. This Fujian peach tree, its shape has been completely refined.
After he got married, Mr. Liu turned to Koji pottery and gemstone pottery. An English painter's comment on Oriental ceramics inspired him to make an important decision.
He said to me that Oriental ceramics were not nearly as good as oil painting.
This comment made him determined to combine Oriental ceramic techniques with Western oil painting. Using gemstone glaze as his paint and a ceramic plate as his canvas, he produced ceramic paintings of his own distinctive style. You cannot paint freely with the glaze on a blank ceramic plate. Between every line and brushstroke, there must be a gap of 0.1 millimeters wide to allow for reaction of the glaze during the firing process. When the painting is finished, it is put into a kiln, and after 24 hours, the kiln is opened. The mineral glaze and the ceramic plate have been transformed in the high temperature of the kiln and turned into a gemstone glazed ceramic painting with the distinctive quality of oil painting. This is a brand new form of art in the world created by Liu Mingwu called ceramic painting. Chinese people have a close bond with the soil. The soil is their foundation. In Anshun, Guizhou province, there is a small village. Their ancestors were dispatched here to guard the frontier and cultivate the wasteland by the emperor of the Ming dynasty over 6 centuries ago. Intense homesickness inspired them to create Anshun local opera, which only sang of war and heroes, not love or ethics. Here, soil is not just a substance, but a memorial to the spirit.
I am Yang Shijin, a third-generation inheritor of Qinghai village's local opera performed on a high stage.
Yang Shijin is the third generation, performing local opera on a high stage in Qinghai village. He learnt the opera from the village elders when he was a child. Singing of the heroes, he looks to the south of the Yangtze River, a place where generations of his family dreamt of returning, but never did. The local opera on a high stage in the village is arranged and performed on a pyramid of square tables. This unique form can only be found in Anshun. The opera handed down through the generations has now become the lonely, sad songs of the elders. Yang Shijin decided to revive the local opera and perform Breach of the Tongxi Maze, a once popular opera that disappeared years ago.
Let's discuss the details.
Yang Shijing means Yang Shaosheng and Liu Qingyi to discuss plans. They had the idea long ago. Yang Shaosheng even takes out the old script that has been forgotten for years. The next day, the 3 men go in search of Tianguan Wood.
There's Tianguan Wood straight ahead.
For hundreds of years, the villagers have only used Tianguan wood to make the opera masks because it is light, has fewer marks and is easily cut. Next, they need to find some people to perform it and over 40 square tables to make the stage. Yang Shijin wants to discuss their ideas with the elders in the village. The village elders all support the plans.
We've performed this opera for centuries. It came from our ancestors. We should carry it forward. We should carry it forward. Carry it forward.
The local opera, Breach of the Tongxi Maze, is mainly the story of the brave Rogong heroes who breached the Tongxi Maze of the Imperial Army. Most of the village elders are now too old to perform on the stage, so they must find some new performers. Several villagers who worked away from home started coming back when they heard that the opera would be performed again. Now the main performers in the drama are gathered together. They are determined, but they still need supporting actors. So they decide to select suitable candidates from the younger villagers and teach them all the necessary skills. Two months later, the auspicious day chosen by the elders arrives. It is not possible to make over 40 square tables for the performance in such a short time because they don't have enough money and time. So they go from door to door borrowing square tables, not only in their village but also from the neighbouring village. There are 5-layer and 8-layer high stages in Qinghai village. The first and second layers of the 5-layer high stage are composed of 16 square tables respectively. The third layer is composed of 9 square tables, and the fourth layer 4 tables. The fifth layer has 1 square table, on which a memorial tablet is fixed. The stage and the entrance are constructed out of 49 tables and stands about 5 meters high. A full-scale opera about the Rogong heroes breaching the Qinghai maze will soon begin. When deploying the maze formation, the officers and soldiers of the Sui Dynasty army climb up the high stage to defend against the Rogong heroes below. During the battle and the subsequent breach, the performers must sometimes climb up high onto the stage. They have to wiggle through the gaps between the square tables to infiltrate the Qinghai maze. The military drumming echoes in the sky. The wind blows on the high stage. During the performance, elders Shou Sheng and Qinghai regularly stop for a break. Shi Jin failed to perform due to an injury while practicing the highly difficult moves.
I'm responsible for the smoke and firecrackers. As long as the opera gets performed, it doesn't matter whether I perform or not.
The much-anticipated local opera on a high stage is performed once again. After the expedition with the cavalry, the emperor and his generals ignored the suffering of the soldiers far away from home. But the defenders' longing for their hometown intensified their homesickness through local opera, through which they maintained a close bond with their homeland, adhering to a traditional Chinese custom of refusing to forget it. In the Cretaceous period, a collision between the Indian and Eurasian plates formed the Tibetan Plateau, from where the Yellow River and Yangtze River continually clashed, transporting soil to the middle and lower reaches and providing a lifeline for humanity. The people who live on the plateau worship the earth like a deity. "17-year-old Xiaowu Yangba was born into a poor family and grew up in a pastoral area. This summer he completed middle school, and his grandmother has sent him to study art.
Xiao Yangba, do you want to learn how to make Buddhist statues? I am Xiao Jiao, a representative national inheritor of Rogong art.
As the representative inheritor of the Rogong art, Jiao is well practiced in clay sculpture, thenka, three-dimensional embroidery and other artistic skills. He broke the rule of only imparting his skills to family members and founded the Rogong Art School. Jiao talks about clay sculptures with the young man, but the young man keeps silent. He doesn't know what life will be like without his sheep. After arriving at the Renjun Academy of imparting Rogong art skills in Jia Kangma village, Jiao asks his apprentices to go and collect red soil with Yangba.
I sent Yangba to collect red soil with Jiasi. The red soil is the best for making Rogong clay sculptures. Every student who studies clay sculpture should learn to collect the red soil first.
Yang Ba sets out with the senior students. This is his first step towards learning Rogong clay sculpture technique. Tongren County is located in Huangnan Prefecture, a famous center of Rogong art. The red soil in Huangnan is fine and viscous. A statue of the Buddha made from this soil can remain in good condition for over 1,000 years. People who make Rogong clay sculptures are in awe of this red soil.
Without the permission of the masters in the monastery, they cannot take the red soil from nature. We worship the god of earth to express our respect for nature. This red soil is good.
The red soil is found between the black soil layer and a layer of sandy soil. It is possible to find it around 1 meter under the ground. Apprentices can make money to support themselves by selling Buddhist statues made of red soil.
Yang Ba, when collecting the red soil, only collect the soil with a soft texture. Not even 1 grain of sand should be mixed in.
Okay.
Moving the sacks of red soil to the car gives the students the feeling of a good harvest. The next morning, Yang Ba comes to the workshop early and finds Mrs. Xiao Wu pounding the newly collected red soil.
How long do you have to pound it?
The longer the better. You should hit it carefully.
Pounding the red soil will make it malleable to make the statues. After being struck over 1,000 times, the red soil is transformed into beautiful soft red clay. This is the first stage. While being pounded, cotton is added. The soft cotton fiber helps to stretch the soil.
Six medicinal herbs are added to the clay, which are called the 6 fragrances. Master, why do we need these things? These things? If you mix sandalwood powder with clay, the Buddha statues will stay fragrant.
At night, Jiao supervises his apprentices as they grind 7 Buddhist treasures to be added to the red clay: red coral, vermilion, sapphire, azurite, turquoise, and gold. After being smashed and pounded over 1,000 times, these valuable gemstones and metals are reduced to dust. Additionally, lots of precious Tibetan herbs and wood, such as saffron and sandalwood, must also be ground to powder. They will give the statues of the Buddha a never-ending subtle fragrance. The Qinghai Tibetan Plateau is the fountainhead of the Yangtze and Yellow rivers. From these holy snowy peaks, the 2 rivers rush all the way down, cultivating the lives and bright civilization of the Chinese nation. Rogong artists regard the source of these 2 rivers as holy water, so they practice the tradition of adding holy water to the red clay used to make the statues of the Buddha.
You are here.
On the morning of the 3rd day, the Buddhist monks bring Jiao holy water from the source of the 2 rivers to add to the red clay to make the statues of the Buddha. The 7 Buddhist treasures, powder that they spent all night grinding, is added to the red clay by the Buddhist monks. When the monks finish chanting, the red soil will have been transformed into red herbal clay.
Yangba, Sandajia. Many rare treasures and precious medicinal herbs have been mixed with the red soil. Retain inner peace and you will make better statues of the Buddha.
That night, Jiao takes Yang Ba to make a statue of the Buddha. Various holy figures from Tibetan Buddhism are made according to the laws and rules of the scriptures. The Book of Craft in the Tripitaka contains a detailed introduction to the art of making traditional statues of the Buddha.
Keep scraping along the edge.
Each expression, each line tests the maker's understanding of the scriptures, which detail making of statues of the Buddha. The master's words touch the young man deeply.
Layer by layer, just like that. Brush it gently.
On the morning of the fourth day, Jiao takes Yang Ba to visit the Rogong Art Museum. This museum was built with government support by Jiao. He invested almost all the money he had saved. He personally created a lot of the works, including clay sculptures, thanka, and three-dimensional embroidery. In front of a Buddha figure, Jiao told Yang Ba that making a statue of the Buddha is a process to express his sacred heart and learn self-control.
Statues of the Buddha should look peaceful, so that by standing in front of them, people can purify their hearts and immerse themselves in a peaceful and harmonious atmosphere. Those are the qualities the statues of the Buddha should achieve. In the dyeing process, the dark colors go on first, and then the light ones.
After working hard for a month, Jiao and his apprentices are ready to install the statue of the Buddha at the temple. Installing a statue of the Buddha is a sacred process. Painting the eyes of the Buddha can only be completed after the statue has been installed. This is a solemn moment.
When the statue is consecrated, the eyes of the Buddha are painted on according to tradition. Buddhist monks chant sutras to transform the sacred figure of the Buddha into the real Buddha. It's pleasing to do this. Under the eyes of the Buddha statue were my master's earnest eyes. The Buddhist monks in the temple are very glad. This brilliant statue of the Buddha contains a handful of red soil that I collected, and herbal clay that I pounded with a stick. At this moment, I feel so glad.
Each place has its own way of supporting its inhabitants. Our ancestors took root in every inch of the soil they stepped on. They took resources from the soil to sustain them and developed a way of living on the earth.
Open another passageway somewhere else.
Using soil as their medium, they communicated with their ancestors. Regarding the soil as a treasure, they engraved the craftsman's journey with tranquility. They missed their homeland, respected the earth as mother, and created eternal, brilliant culture of the Chinese nation on the land they had loved and depended on for generations.
My name is Qiu Qingnian. I'm 71 years old. I've been making traditional painting pigments all my life. Neatly. It should be done in a natural amplitude. Okay, it's all done. I am Wang Daoquan, the representative inheritor of the stone lock competition in Yinxiang, Jiangsu. During the Tang Dynasty, Li Shimin used stone locks to train his soldiers.